Hi everybody. With 9 days of racing in the bag, let's start with a quick week 1 recap. 1,430 kilometers and 17,000 meters of elevation gain have been covered, and there's 1,969 k and 27,518 meters of elevation gain to go till Rome. So we ain't there yet. The 107 Giro d'Italia started off with fireworks on stage 1, where we saw Narvaez taking the upper hand of Schachmann and Pogačar. On stage 2 then, the first mountaintop finish of this Giro d'Italia, Pogačar managed to complete his Grand Tour stage victory trilogy, which is what he indicated to be after in his finish line interview. As expected, the final run-in on stage 3 then did not trouble most of the sprinters, and we saw Merlier outsprinting Milan. On stage 4, Milan took revenge by taking a very impressive sprint victory over Merlier, with the Maglia Ciclamino changing shoulders in the process. On stage 5, Paleni, Pietrobon, Valgren and Thomas managed to stay ahead of the chasing pack, with Benjamin Thomas taking the win. The battle for the break on stage 6 was nothing short but epic. Eventually a 4-rider break fought for the stage, with Pelayo Sanchez outsprinting Alaphilippe. ITT on stage 7, which had a nasty sting in the tail, was won by a very impressive Tadej Pogačar. And on stage 8, the first 5-star stage of this Giro, Pogačar continued stamping his authority onto the race by taking a third victory. On stage 9 then, we saw some proper spectacle once the bumps in the finale announced themselves. We saw Alaphilippe very active again, who seems to be growing into this race, and I actually expect him to make one stick if he continues like this. Towards the top of the final climb, Jonathan Narvaez put in an impressive attack and he almost made it stick to the line. Had it not been for Pogačar himself, who was pulling the bunch to lead out Molano's sprint, Narvaez would have made it. Yet now he got pipped on the line by Coy, who took his first Grand Tour win here, ahead of Milan and Molano. On GC, Pogačar is going into the first rest day with a comfortable 2 minutes and 40 seconds lead on Dani Martinez. Unfortunately, today we lost another rider who could have been presenting us with some animation in the weeks to come. Alexei Lutsenko at Astana did not start stage 9, where Fortunato will now be the sole leader. In the points competition, Milan remains solidly in the lead. Merlier is fast, yet he's suffering more in the climbs, and he had a fall on the TT bike with some physical discomfort as a result. Let's hope the rest day does him good. Groves, Coy and Merlier are the ones who remain within striking distance of Milan, but it will be tough for them to beat him. When it comes to the climber's jersey, Pogačar is now solidly in the lead, yet there's still an awful lot of points to collect, should a good climber decide to go on some long distance races in the breakaway. Obviously, a lot will also depend on how Pogačar decides to take on the rest of this Giro. Talking about the rest of this Giro, here's an overview of what's up in week 2, comprising 2 stages for the sprinters, stage 11 and stage 13, the only actually flat inline stage of this Giro, if you don't include the sprint stage into Rome. Stage 12 is another stage for the classic specialists, and on stage 14 we get the second and final ITT of this Giro, this time around a fully flat one. And then we start and end the week with a mountain stage, starting the week with a relatively mellow stage and ending the week with the Queen stage of this Giro. Which brings us to stage 10, a 141k short Apennine stage with a first category mountaintop finish. In total there's around 2,850 meters of climbing in this stage, the start of which is flat, which will make it difficult for the right break to form. We may well have to wait till the climbs in the middle of the stage for the decisive break to form. From the top of the second category Camposauro, the riders will be served with a 10k descent, after which they move into the approach to the first category finish climb. This approach goes up yet is fairly easy and could potentially allow for a break to open up a significant gap. At 18k the finish climb is long, yet the gradients remain mellow. The way this stage turns out will all depend on Pogačar and whether he allows the break to go. Pre-Giro, I called this one for the break, yet after having seen how greedy Pogačar has been in the first week, I'm not that sure anymore, especially since this is also a fairly easy stage to control. Betting odds were not yet available at the time of recording, yet here's the riders to watch in my book, mainly focusing on breakaway riders or those which used to have GC aspirations, yet whom are further down the line. When the GC guys go for it, expect it to be once more Pogačar versus Martinez. At Soudal Quickstep, Jan Hirt sits at nearly 6 minutes in GC. I'm assuming Pogačar doesn't consider him a threat as he does Bardet, so he may be allowed some freedom. Then again, it will spark a snowball effect, with eventually people reacting, whom are considered dangerous by UAE Team Emirates. So I'm going to go with Van Zevenand. On stage 8 we saw Ineos in the break. Aresman did not get freedom, yet there's no reason we won't see Narvaez up there once more. Yet if I were him, I'd be eyeing stage 12 instead. Pogačar, well, as we know by now, when he wants it, he'll take it, so it would be wrong not to call him. Visma Lease Bike has been standing around Uiterbroeks, so I'm not expecting them in the break. If a rider goes though, I'd expect Valter. Let's hope Caruso will no longer be bothered too much by the results of his crash earlier this week, and when that's the case, he's the perfect guy to take a stage like this one. ETF Steinhauser has been showing good form, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the break again. Also Chavez, now at 10 minutes in GC, should find a stage here that suits him. Aliotti at Bora, 15th in the stage to Prati di Tivo, and Quintana or Pelayo Sanchez at Movistar. Pozzovivo at Bardiani, climbing with the best on the climb to Prati di Tivo. Zana at Jaiko Alula. At 7 minutes, he's one of those who might spark a reaction by top 10 riders, which will in turn spark reaction by UAE. JP Lopez at Little Trek, who sits at 9 minutes 41 seconds on GC. For Bardet at TSM, it's the same story as for Zana at Jaiko Alula. UAE has already shown not to give him freedom. The big question is what's considered a sufficient buffer by UAE Team Emirates. Davide Baez, winner of a stage like this one in last year's Giro, and Simon Geschke at Cofidis, who currently sits in 20th on GC at over 15 minutes. Finally, Storer at Tudor and the Parepintre brothers at AG2R. Storer and Bardet are my 4-star favorites for this stage. Zana gets 3 stars, Aurélien Parepintre, Caruso and Van Zevenand get 2 stars, Pozzovivo, JP Lopez, Geschke and Aliotti each get 1 star. So as you see, I'm going with the break scenario after all, and I'm calling Bardet for the win ahead of Storer and Aurélien Parepintre. Enjoy the rest day and the stage, and see you on Tuesday evening for my stage 11 preview.